It is upon their ancestral land that our shed stands. Similarly, I would also like to pay respect to the elders, both past and present, acknowledging them as the traditional custodians of knowledge for this place. Thank you. I would like to introduce Barry Fuller, the Wangi Uniting Church Council Chairman.
Hello, good morning everybody.
Basil, you look very nice with your new shirt on.
Has anybody seen our state member anyway?
Has he turned up yet? No, you weren't listening. He's on his way.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
That's the mic.
Is this the mic? Okay. Okay, as I said, good morning and welcome to all of you, particularly shed members. This is your day. As you know, my name is Basil Fuller and I'm the chair.
He's in training.
Is this okay? Can you hear me now? Okay?
Excellent.
All right. So today, perseverance, 5 years, virtual shed, what now? And believe, all words I'm sure you will hear from our speakers today. My word, few. First, I would like to introduce you to our speakers. You've already heard from Eric Morenese, who is today's MC. And I think we'll probably hear from him again later on in proceedings. You'll hear from Peter Garland, the president of Wangi Men's Shed, David Helmers, the Australian Men's Shed Association CEO, Greg Piper, who is still to arrive, who is the Greg Piper MP, independent state member for Lake Macquarie. We also have Wendy Harrison, Councillor Wendy Harrison from Lake Macquarie City Council, who is also the Deputy Mayor. And last there but not least is Wangi Uniting Church Reverend Robert Hinks, retired, but with no change to his daily working routine, and of course the catalyst for today's events. Finally, I'd also like to welcome from Synod, Uniting Resources, Gabriel Tiber and Vicky Roper. Thank you for coming all the way from Sydney. These are the money people, so we have to be nice to them. We also have Anthony Kotick from Origin Energy at Eraring Power Station. Thank you very much. He was a supporter of the shed, or Origin were a supporter of the shed. And of course we have Jeff Watt from Viola here to collect some certification as well. They're supporters of the shed, so thank you very much. So without any further waffle from myself, I'll leave you with Mr. Peter Garland, President of Men's Shed, to give us an update. Sorry, I mean a historical update.
Under the circumstances, Peter being our president, we don't ask him to stand and speak in front of the mic. No, Peter recently had a bit of a mishap, so he's stuck to his wheelchair.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Pete.
The idea of the men's shed came from within the Wangi Uniting Church. Several meetings were held. We made a visit to the shed at Kincumber Uniting Church. The Wangi Uniting Church offered to fund the men's shed and make ground available behind the church at 5 French Road, Wangi. A public meeting was called at the Workers' Club on the 19th of June 2009 to see if there was sufficient support for a shed. Attendance included 26 from the public and 5 from the church. Members and a committee was formed. A design for the shed was selected and the DA was lodged. After a long process, the DA was rejected and Lake Macquarie Council was to find us a new site. The new site was situated in the Wangi Oval. By this time, membership had grown from 50 to 60. The members were kept informed of development at regular meetings which involved barbecues, mostly with guest speakers. Barbecues were held at Bunnings to raise funds. A new design and DA was lodged. A lease for 20 years was negotiated with the council, resulting in the subdivision of the area. Insurance through the Wangi Uniting Church, which was free, was no longer available. This resulted in us to become incorporated body and take out insurance with the Australian Men's Shed Association. This meant that the terms relating to the amount of money would be made available to the church had to be renegotiated. After 5 years of frustration, resulting in hair loss gone past grey, concrete was poured on the 22nd of April 2014 and the shed was constructed. I thank the committee and all the members for their enthusiasm, dedication and hard work in fitting out inside of the four walls of the shed. At this stage, our membership is 111 with 10 people on a waiting list. To the generous donors who made this shed and equipment available, I would thank you, and would you please come forward as I read your names out for a certificate of appreciation. The Wangi Uniting Church. Uniting Care.
Thank you, Ada.
Wangi District Workers Club. Araring Energy. Centennial Coal. Wangi Lions Club.
Thank you, Peter.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Avery Property Professionals. Pacific Doors. Bunnings Morisset. TLE Electrical. Viola Environmental Services.
Cheers.
Thank you. Oz Robes.
Thank you. Eric, back to you.
Thank you, Peter. Next, I'll invite David Helmers. He is represents the Men's Shed Association Australia.
Thank you, and good morning, and thank you for the invitation to come along today. It was great to see so many members of the Wangi Men's Shed here as well in the distinctive black and red shirts. We can't miss you. And it's quite amazing there's so many men here now involved in this shed in these early days. As a general rule, I don't do shed openings a great deal, and Peter was quite persuasive to get me along here. I generally only do about one a year. Last year I extended that to 2. I got out of the office twice, they let me out. So in 8 years that I've been involved in, or 9 years now in men's sheds, I've only actually ever been, you might be surprised, to 10 shed openings. Generally it means I'm too busy in the office. This shed looking around today is great testimony to what can be done. And speaking with Peter and hearing about that, and having spoken to Peter and the committee here a lot over the last 5 years, you've had the ups and downs and the struggles, and some sheds find it a lot easier to develop than others. And this is, looking at it now, finished today, it's a great testimony to Peter and the whole committee here of what can actually be achieved. When I look back and reflect a little bit, it's been 9 years since I first started in the shed game with Windale Men's Shed. Oops. And at that stage there was probably only about 80 around Australia. And we took out of that shed, and a lot of other sheds and communities came to visit that shed, and we formed the Australian Men's Shed Association on the basis of replicating the wheel. We reduced the cost of developing sheds from hundreds of thousands into, some case, only a few $1,000s. Today there are 931 men's sheds in Australia. That's, to put it in perspective, and there's 200,000 men involved, and we've got about 15 more sheds than what there are McDonald's restaurants. So that's evidence in itself that the whole sheds work. That makes AMSA now the largest male representative group in Australia and the largest community development organisation in Australia. And to top that off now, there's also 500, you may not be aware, sheds operating internationally, all replicating this Australian model. And having been over to Ireland and the UK twice, you have no idea how much they idolise you guys in the sheds here for what you have done. The growth of sheds in Ireland has been absolutely astronomical. 3 years ago, or 4 years ago now, there was only one shed. Now there's 300 Irishmen in the sheds over there, or 300 sheds. Looking at sheds itself, I think one of the great successes of sheds is nobody planned for this to happen. Nobody got there and said, we're going to create a way of preventing social isolation in men. Professor Barry Golding, one of our patrons, is currently writing a book called A Company of Men, which will be released later this year, which puts the whole history of men's sheds into an academic text. And it's very interesting. We can trace the early sheds back about 30 years now, but the whole movement only really gained momentum from about 2004 onwards. And the great thing was what I said before, it's just no one planned it. It just evolved, and it just shows what can happen when something's let to grow on its own. But and finally, as words of advice for the future, I know this shed, you've faced many challenges in the last 5 years, and that's only a small part of the challenges that are to come. At the moment you have 4 walls and a roof, you have a shed. Right? Now it's part to give it its heart and soul and give it the men to actually make it a men's shed. So I wish you all the best in the future. Thank you.
I would now like to call on our state member, Greg Piper MP. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to be here today after so much discussion and all the angst over this. Peter, can I just congratulate you for all the hard work. Peter gave a little bit of a rundown of the history of this, and he understated it greatly. I don't know how many times I had discussions with Peter and members of the prospective men's shed, the aspirational group that wanted to build the men's shed up near the church. And yes, it was problematic, Peter, and frankly I'm pleased that the application was refused because it did give the opportunity to make so much better use of this wonderful site here, and just fantastic. Your dogged determination has seen you through, and it's quite unusual for council to open up land like this in this way. Can I just acknowledge everybody who's part of this particular men's shed movement? I wish you all the best. I listened to David talking about the challenges to come, but getting so many people here in the first place shows that you're probably well positioned to take on those challenges into the future. I'm a great supporter of Men's Shed, and as David knows, I see me mate Roger Greenan there. Over at Windale was the very first time that I got to know anything about really what was happening with men's sheds, and I think Windale around here is the one that we look to. It is the model that has been replicated in so many ways across Australia. My dad was involved, and Roger and my dad had become very good friends, and it just seems such a sensible thing to bring people together. But of course, it's not just retirees. The intention is let's get more younger people involved, and I think that's one of the things that we can do better. I'm not quite sure how we do that, how we get that engagement, but it's really important, and you've got the resources, I think, to do that. But I just want to congratulate you, Peter. I'm absolutely amazed at the quality of the building that you've got here, and the numbers of people that you've got engaged already. And I think it's just a magnificent use for this site. You know, it's just so central to so many people here in this area, Wangi, Arcadia Vale, and it's accessible. You've got room to expand. Congratulations. You've done a fabulous job, and just from selling sausages at Bunnings. Okay, I mean, it's a pretty bloody good job. Congratulations.
He didn't point out that we sell bloody good sausages at Bunnings.
Well, I've eaten a few of them.
If anyone ever saw the schedule, we're well in front. That's because we can't tell the time here. At the Men's Shed, we're only good at creating metal filings and sawdust. We're not very good at organising. I now call on Councillor Wendy Harrison, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Peter. I guess being the last speaker, ladies and gentlemen, most things have been said, but I would like to echo everything that's been said this morning and add my congratulations to Peter, your group, and all of the members of the Men's Shed for the wonderful work that they've done in creating this great building that we're opening today. I do echo Greg's words in saying that I think it probably is good that the first DA was not approved. I know Council gets quite bad press at times about some things. Sometimes well-deserved, sometimes not well-deserved. And I agree with Greg that on this occasion, this has been a much better outcome for you all. So I congratulate you. I offer you the very best wishes of everyone at Council for the future. And as a retired woman, on behalf of, or semi-retired anyway, on behalf of all the women who wave the men off each day as they go to the Men's Shed, I say thank you.
Yeah, we really don't know whether it was the men that organised the Men's Shed or the woman behind the man. Pushing. Now we come to the big deal. I would like to call on the Reverend Robert Hinks to officially unveil the plaque.
Except it wasn't the last speech, Wendy, sorry. I want to give you a bit more background. We could say from little things, big things grow. And this is certainly a much bigger shed than we ever thought of when we first started talking about this. Thank you, Eric. Much bigger. And I can say too, Greg and Wendy, that we're very glad it was shifted from back up there, because we've got a much better facility than we would have had according to our original plans. But if we want to go back to the origins of this shed, we've got to go to Broken Hill. A man called Brian Nichols, who was the director of Lifeline. And Brian was concerned about the miners who were retiring, relatively young. And what do you do in Broken Hill except go to the pub and the clubs? So he got hold of an old church hall that wasn't being used and invited the men to come and start meeting. And they started repairing lawnmowers, bikes, and generally were just meeting together doing the sorts of things that we know men's shed's supposed to do. And the blokes thought it was good and their wives thought it was better. That's where it started. We were in Broken Hill living in Broken Hill in the late 80s, and that's where we found out about this little thing that Brian had started. Thought, good idea. Never thought I'd be involved in creating one or getting one going, because I have to confess that I failed woodwork at high school. Not very practical at all. But however, it was an idea that just hung there because it seemed like a good thing for men. Jump a few years, and the church, Uniting Church in Wangi and Morisset, owned a house in common and decided to sell it and split the money. Morisset used their money to build a new house. Wangi didn't quite know what to do with the money and just put it in the bank. And it just sat there. Moved forward to 2009, early 2009, I was just about to retire. And I woke up one night with a question and an answer in my head. The question was, do you know what to do with that money? The answer was, build a men's shed. Next morning, woke up, remembered the dream, or whatever it was. Still seemed like a good idea. So I said to Bev, my wife, what do you reckon? Do you use that money for a men's shed? Good idea. Took the idea to the church council. And, I mean, they were responsible for the money. It was their money. What do you reckon about using that money for a men's shed? Got an absolutely unanimous yes. Everybody was extremely enthusiastic. That sort of thing doesn't happen, does it? Took it to the whole church. What do you reckon? Use the money for a men's shed? Yes, definitely. Let's build a men's shed. So we had a meeting and got together some blokes. Of course, when God organises things, he organises the people to do it. So sitting in the congregation were people like Peter Garland, Basil Fuller, Peter Bowen. People who had the expertise that I didn't have. So we called a public meeting that Peter referred to before. And of course, sitting in that public meeting were a number of blokes, and I'm not going to mention names now, because I'd miss out on some, but they had the expertise. And that committee just started to work together so very well with one aim, that was to build a shed. And you've heard from Peter all the problems that we've had. So I said it's better than I ever imagined it could be. It's absolutely amazing. But I've got no doubt that it was God who asked that question. Do you know what to do with that money? Build a men's shed. So whenever I come down here and look at the shed and look at the blokes in here, I have one message for myself, and that is that God is very concerned about the welfare of blokes. That's what he told me that night in 2009. That's what he told Brian Nichols in Broken Hill. So I think we can be very pleased and very thankful for what we have here. So thank you very much, everybody. And now it gives me great pleasure to declare the shed open and to unveil a plaque. Thank you.
You can't beat that, can you? But I think that was the Catholic, what do they call the Angeles?
Westminster Chimes, I was told.
Westminster Chimes. Oh, I stand. No, I don't mind being corrected. Well, as you've guessed, now you can see the plaque. We've got nothing to hide. Now we can get stuck into the really good fun. I'd invite the guests to inspect our shed and also join us for morning tea. In what order you do that, it's up to you. But we have some of our members who will act as coordinators, who will guide you around the shed. You can ask them questions. They know some answers. If they don't know the answer, I say it's not worth knowing. So I'd ask you to move forward, inspect our shed, inspect our morning tea. Just before you go, I'd like to, on a minor note, but very important, I'd like to thank my team that turned up yesterday afternoon and this morning to help me set up. As I'm sure Peter Catalini would like to thank the ladies who are backing him with the morning tea. Thank you.